Christopher, my name is Corey Feist. I'm the president and co-founder of the Dr. Lorna Breen Heroes Foundation, and just so grateful for you to take time with us today. Could you please introduce yourself to us?
My name is Dr. Christopher Thomas Veal. I am now a PGY3 at the Corey Foundation Hospital in the Department of Family Medicine. I specialize primarily in maternity primary care, but we'll focus on LGBTQ health, trauma-informed care, and adverse childhood experiences.
One of the things that we've talked a lot about are your struggles with mental health, particularly during medical school. Can you tell us a little bit more about what those struggles were during medical school?
Where do I begin? I had my own fair share of depression for a good 7 years leading up to med school starting. Didn't really address it that much. My family I was raised in, we didn't discuss these kind of things. I had also had a huge blow just a couple months before starting med school where my best friend had died by suicide. And then on top of that, I had just come out of the closet around that time. Half my family didn't really vibe well to that. I kind of lost my relationship with my father at that point. My hope actually was that the busyness of med school would distract me from all of the external forces that were kind of leading to my own mental decline.
I know that you've shared with us before that there were moments there, and there was a particular moment when you contemplated dying by suicide. What do you think the biggest factors were that were kind of contributing at that time?
When failure ultimately had to become an option, because I had wound up failing a class by a single point, my second year, I did not know what to do. I get a message from one of the dean's offices and says, Chris, do you mind coming to the dean's office? It was when she said those words that I had feared the most, which had been said to my former classmates who had been asked to leave. Are you sure you want to become a doctor? That was when things drastically changed. I just couldn't figure out, nor could I sustain the level of pain I was going through, just physically and emotionally. The dean had said a variety of things after that statement, which I do not recall, and I'm confident that I didn't even hear when I was in that room, but all I did know at that time was that I needed to get out of there. And so once I was out of her office, I went into one of the enclosed stairwells of my medical school and just dropped down to my knees, and I just bawled my eyes out. At that point, that thought came back. That thought of suicide. And when I got outside, it was a terrible, terrible snowstorm. It was one of the worst snowstorms I'd ever seen. They had actually canceled school that day because of the snowstorm. And so as I was walking through the parking lot, I thought to myself, well, if I drove my car into this traffic pole at full speed with this storm going on, my grandmother and my mother would assume that it was an accident, that this was not an intentional suicide attempt. And that would be a way for them to move on without feeling guilty. And for some reason, that brought me peace. In whatever twisted way, it was. And so when I got to my car and I wiped off all the snow in my car and I sat down, I thought about my best friend who died by suicide just 2 years earlier. In the time between his death and that moment in 2018, I had gotten very, very close to his parents. His mother and his stepfather, Carla and Jim. I lost my best friend, they lost their son, right? I thought, well, if I was gonna go, I had to call Carla, I had to at least hear her voice before I left. So I picked up the phone, I called her. She lives over in San Diego, California, so it was a big time difference. She answered the phone right away, and I didn't need to say, I barely even got hello out before she said, what's wrong? Something's going on. I said, no, Carla, just want to check in, just want to see how you're doing, Happy New Year, all that. She's like, no, Chris, something's off. Something's not right. Eventually, after the back and forth, I finally broke down. And I told her what had been going on, and depression, and the failure, and all the things. Everything but the suicide. I did not want her to know that I was planning on ending my life after that phone call. But she refused to get off the phone until I got home. And that act alone was what saved my life. 100%. She knew that I was in a lot of pain, and she knew that I needed help. And so she said, you know what? Finish this last course you're in. I had like 2 more weeks left of that course. And then come to San Diego. We'll take care of you. So I put in my leave of absence forms, and I got in my car 2 weeks later. I just drove west, Vermont to San Diego. We were catching up, and I looked at Carla, and she just started weeping. And I was like, Carla, what's wrong? What's wrong? She grabs my hands, and she says to me, I've already lost a son. I cannot lose another one. Because she was like a mother to me, that was basically the only thing she needed to tell me for me to never think about that again. And I knew that she really meant it, And so I promised her at that point that it wouldn't happen again, that I would get the help, and that things would change. They had to change,
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing this amazing story, and thank you for inspiring others to be wounded healers just like you and do incredible things in the world. So thank you.